Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, guys. We are talking about a very interesting topic tonight. We're going to be talking about how sometimes employers or leaders in these organizations or CEOs in this particular story, how they take their people for granted, and unfortunately, it can cost them a whole heap of money, and it can cost them a lot of time. It can cost them company resources and a lot of other things. But we're gonna jump into this in a few. I'm gonna give you guys another chance, give you guys a chance to get in here. Go ahead and like the video, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as other platforms on on LinkedIn and on Facebook where we're airing live tonight. All right, guys, stay tuned. Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, folks. We are going to be talking tonight about, unfortunately, some employers don't have a clue until they are truly hurting in the place where it hurts. Some of these employers actually make it bad for themselves, really. They allow for greed and ego to get in the way of what it is that ultimately they need to be doing. And we are going to go over this article. It's from cheeseburger.com. I know sometimes before I even start, sometimes this particular website has some very interesting stories. A lot of them are plugged from Reddit. Of course, it may or may not be true, but it's an example that we do need to look at because there are some times that either you guys have experienced it from the employee as an employee dealing with employers that will see lack some things, and we're going to pinpoint what those things are. We're going to look at some aspects of how this could have been handled differently, obviously, and also look at it from an employer standpoint as well. All right, so we're going to jump right in. All righty. So, employee denied raise and told they're replaceable after becoming a sole engineer on a project. Cost the company big when they quit. 500,000 and 2 years of productivity lost over a $40,000 a year raise. A proverb. This article was written by Brad Dixon from cheeseburger.com. A proverb, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, postulates that you're better off with what you have or are able to get now rather than what you might be able to get in the future. The reason being here is that certainty is everything, and things that might happen also might not. When it comes to the compensation at work, the same rules apply. Why agree to take on increased responsibility with the promise of more pay on delivery of the project when it's probably more likely to be, you're probably more likely to be laid off at the end of the project than actually being paid fairly. We'll talk about all of those aspects as well and ways you can prevent that from happening, being a career savvy individual, and even tradwives that are going back into the job market. Not because you haven't been there in a while, that doesn't mean you want to put yourself in a position to get swindled. Says while working for an emergency communications company, this worker fell into the all too common trap of taking on additional work with the promise that it would eventually lead to more pay. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Surprise, surprise. With the proverbial carrot dangling indefinitely in front of them, they took on more work, becoming the sole engineer on an important project after the other engineer working with them left the company. With their increased responsibility in hand, they approached the CEO of the company asking for a $40,000 a year raise and were told they would receive it once the project had been delivered. Now let's dig into the devils and the details, right? So this is coming from Reddit, so let's go here. I cost my employer, this is of course the employee that wrote to Reddit and left this here. I cost my company, my ex-employer, $500,000 in 2 years of productivity over a $40,000 a year raise. So he says, years ago, I worked for a small 30 employee emergency communications company in Western Michigan for $80,000 a year. Not bad. This company hired me to make a new embedded Linux product with an IP camera. For a year or so, all was going well until a coworker's dad had a stroke, and he had to resign during the middle of the project. The coworker also happens to be my longest-lasting friend. Upper management's first reaction when they heard about my friend's dad's stroke wasn't, is his dad okay? It was, can you finish the project without him? Uh-oh. Red flag number 1. Hello there, Still Rocks. How are you doing? Welcome to the live. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all of this. However, let's dig a little deeper. 1 moment. All right. Mistake number 1. The employee says, I should have quit right then and there, but it was young and naive. Instead of quitting, I asked for a $40,000 raise to cover the added responsibility of being the sole engineer on the entire project that could have made the company millions. Mistake number 2. The CEO, we're going to call him David, told me he would give me the raise once the project was released. I did not get that in writing. Good God, I was dumb. Yeah, unfortunately, you can take people at their word, but we're going to discuss that too. Mistake number 3. I continued to work longer and longer hours for over 6 months. Yikes. I worked 80 hours a week. I was there at 4:30 in the morning and left at later than 8 o'clock at night. My marriage suffered and I became a zombie and depressed. I was naive enough to try and climb the corporate ladder. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with. We'll talk about that after we're done. I had enough. At the 6-month mark, I went to the CEO and demanded my raise right then and there. He looked at me and said, "What raise?" Uh-oh. I never promised you a raise. What a lying bastard. Okay, we were trying, he said, the boss says, Mr. David says, we're trying to cut costs to increase EBITDA, some form of, which we'll find out what that is in a minute. I could replace you in 2 weeks. I'm not too fond of the very sound of that acronym now, of course. I immediately started to look for new jobs and found one within 3 days that was fully remote and paid $120,000 a year. Okay, so he definitely made the right move and got the heck out of Dodge. The $40,000 he was asking them for, he got elsewhere. I put in my 2-week notice, and in my resignation email, because David did say this, I specifically stated that this is more than enough time, as David said he would replace me in 2 weeks. The panic that ensued was fantastic. This is where we're going to kiki about some of this. Immediately, they had to hire a third-party engineering company to finish the project, which ran around the grand total of $500,000. After that, it took them over a year to find a replacement for me, and he left within a year. I later messaged him on LinkedIn, and he said the company has gone to, I'm going to assume they say crap or the other word, and they continually blame me for the failure of the product. Oh, the audacity and lack of accountability. The company hasn't made a single post on social media in almost a year, and they haven't pushed any updates to any of their products in about the same amount of time. Bonus things about my insane company at the time: the CEO looked at me and once said, "The owner understands sacrifice. He had to sell he had to sell his summer home. He was trying to he was gaslighting you." The CEO also went from a fairly reasonable guy to a straight up lumberjack looking crazy, born again ranting madman with a huge beard. Moral of the story: know your worth and quit early. Raises are a scam. It's not a scam, but we'll talk about how to navigate those professionally. And companies would much rather, some companies, not all, companies would much rather cut off their nose to spite their face. That's exactly what happened in this case. And if you're doing extra work to be noticed, uh, if you are doing extra work, you will be noticed, but not for a promotion. You taught the employer that you will do extra work for nothing. No job is worth your health or your family. Let me come back on the screen here, folks. All right. Hello, everybody. And those of you that are here that have not said hello, say hello. Tell me where you're hailing from. And also, what you think of the story so far. Ha! What? The thing that stands out the most about this supposed David CEO is the fact that he had the audacity of Mount Rushmore to think that somebody was going to take his abuse because he thought that he could make promises and he was not operating from an integral place. That's number one. Number two, you overestimated the timeline in which you could find a replacement and underestimated the valuable employee you had in the seat for, at the very least, $40,000 less. I mean, speaking from an employer standpoint, he thought he had it made in the shed because he was the one paying the bills. But you also have to assess what and who do you value in these situations. You wanted something new, you wanted something innovative, but you were not willing to pay the right price and treat your most valuable asset and valuable resource the way they needed to be treated. And that is your human resource. He took it for granted that, oh my goodness, I have it made in the shade. I can find his replacement within a week. First of all, he should not have made that mistake, looking at the fact that, number one, he tried to get he ran initially to, because it was two of them working on the project. And the fact that he was like, are you going to be able to do this, or are you going to be able to handle the project on your own? They didn't care. That was red flag number one. They didn't care about the other employee losing their father. They didn't show any kind of, empathy for the guy that just lost his dad. So that should be red flag number one. Red flag number two, and I'm going to give you guys this as a career coach. If any boss, supervisor, leadership in any capacity makes a promise for a raise, and I don't mean just saying you had a raise, get it in. I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Get it in writing. Please do not trust a soul. This is business. You may be the employee, but you are in business for yourself. You are responsible for your own personal economy. And I don't care what kind of stars they promise you in the sky. Get it in writing. That was mistake number 2. The CEO has no integrity. Let's be clear. I'm not sitting up here giving him any rights. You understand? I'm not, yes. Hey there, credit solutionist. How are you doing, darling? I got it. Yeah, we'll definitely we'll talk after I'm done. So, absolutely get it in writing. I'm gonna put that on the screen, please. Get it in writing. Oh, totally understandable, credit solutionist. Totally understandable. Number 1, get it in writing. Get it via email or get it via paper where both of you sign, so you have that agreement. So when it is time to pay the piper, that there's no denying what it is that you were doing. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, in the article where he says, mistake number 1, not getting it in writing. Mistake number 2, he should not have waited until 6 months to go back and revisit that, because in writing you should have said, when the project gets to the 90-day mark, let's revisit the raise that he was supposed to get. Okay, let's revisit when that raise will be rendered and how will it be rendered. Will it be rendered in lump sum? All of those details. Make sure those are it whenever you're speaking with, or if you're ever in a position where you're asked to do extra tasks and you're asked to take on additional responsibility, a whole nother job. You want to make sure that you get all of that in writing and how you're going to be compensated and what additional fringe benefits. Listen, it's time to negotiate. At the end of the day, you're always negotiating, whether you're in a job or you're about to get one. You have to understand how to negotiate, especially when you are taking on additional responsibilities. Okay? This particular employer overestimated their value and underestimated the value of the employee they had in front of them. And clearly, because they were not only being malicious, dishonest, and drumroll please, they even took the time to gaslight the employee. Here's the prize that they won, folks. They ended up spending an additional $500,000. And guess how much time they ended up wasting, folks? A whole, year and change? It took them a year to replace the employee that Mr. David said, oh, I can have you replaced in 2 weeks. We're trying to save the company capital. I think that's part of what that EBITDA stands for. Okay? Instead of Mr. Also wise CEO paying the guy the $40,000 so his project would have been finished, the dodo head, because that's exactly that was a dumb move. You ended up not only not finishing what finishing the new product that you were coming up with, it cost you a whole year and $500,000. See that $40,000 apparently. Listen, the person that wrote this article, the employee, you should have asked for more, because clearly they could afford to pay the $500,000. You have to understand in the career space your value. When you're asking for a raise, at least he had enough gumption to ask, but he was asking an employer that has no integrity. Let's be clear. So, number 1, get it in writing. Number 2, if you are being asked, like this employee was, to take on additional responsibilities, This is the other thing that you actually have to do. Set boundaries on your time. Set boundaries on your time. Your time. You see how valuable time became? Because they end up having to spend how much money? And it took them an additional year and change. And I don't even know to this day if that wonderful project that the employee was working on even came to market. I don't know if they finished producing that. The CEO. Boy, oh boy. The CEO. Hello, Jay Antoinette. Welcome to the live. Yeah. Two very things you absolutely have to do in these situations. If you find yourself, guys, in any situation where they're asking you to take on additional responsibilities, number one, get it in writing. That good old fashioned email. Hi, this is so and so. As per our discussion, I am taking on the additional responsibilities because XYZ has left the company. Now would be the time to take notes because I'm giving you the script or what you should put in that email, so you can not only garner your raise, but also keep everybody accountable and truthful, even when they don't want to be. Yeah, because I'm sure if he had that email from, with David would not have the audacity to act like he didn't promise this dude a raise. Okay? Yes, AJ Antoinette, get it in writing. Get it in writing. There you go. Yes. Now, taking notes. Okay, let's say let's say we're writing to David, right? Hello, David. As per our discussion at XYZ, because I'm big on putting the date and time on it, just in case you forgot. Okay, boo boo kitty. Shoot, I'll go next step and use my cell phone to take a picture, just in case you thought you weren't there. So yeah, I'll get that petty with it if I need to. Exactly. In the world of HR, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So definitely happens in this. It's definitely a business principle that we all can learn from. Okay. Number one, send that wonderful email. Hello, David. This is so and so. I am. As per our discussion on this date and this time, I am discussing the additional responsibilities you are asking me to take on as of this date. You did specify that you would like for me to go ahead and take on these responsibilities. In doing so, I am requesting, in this case, this employee should have asked for another 70 or 80,000. He'd have gotten it because they certainly shelled out a whole lot more when they were trying to replace him. I'm requesting an additional $80,000 per year because and here is how you justify, and here is how you negotiate, because you do your research before you go in that room. So when you get out that room, you have your words ready. I'm aware that this position that I'm taking the responsibilities for pays $100K or $120,000 a year. This additional raise will be able to help me take care of the responsibilities, and also I want to also take the time to set the parameters around the extra time I will be taking to do so. I will be available to take on the additional responsibilities, and you start to set the extra hours. Do not let them dictate that to you. You put the criteria in place. You put the boundaries in place in email, in writing. So when they respond, they may, well, I'd like for you to be available for this. And if it's something you guys, the little details you can negotiate on, no problem. But at the end of the day, and I would like to see, how would this particular raise be paid out? Will it be paid out over X number of time? Would it be paid out in a lump sum? Would it be paid out at when the project, would that some would be paid now and some would be paid at the end of the project? How is these funds going to be disseminated? Make sure you put those details in that email. Here is why. Because if you don't, it will not be addressed. And if you don't put your professional time boundaries in writing, it will not be adhered to either. They're not going to have a boundary to abide by if you don't give them one. You are a professional and this is a business transaction between two businesses, the business of the employer and the business of you. You are a career professional responsible for your own personal economy. Let's start operating that way. In this case, this guy didn't operate this way. And the employer thought, oh, well, I'm going to get the upper hand on this. Little did they know. A year and $500,000 later. Boy, I'm sure he's kicking this. You hear what happened to him. Business ain't doing so hot, and neither is that wonderful CEO. Cry me a river. All I'm going to say about that CEO is, I'm not going to say the words. I'm just going to put the acronyms in the chat. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. All right, now, that's a little bit of my petty side coming out. All right, Victoria saying hello to Jay Antoinette like I did. Like you said, so like I said, so Rock, if it ain't on paper, it didn't happen. If it's not documented, it did not happen. Of course, you are out here saying, thank you, welcome out. We appreciate it. No problem. Glad to be of service. All right, Jay Antoinette, you saying hello to each other. Thank you so much. Of course, Victoria, like the stream, everybody, as you are coming in, and share this with people you know may have gone through something similar or may be going through something similar to this. What I want us to learn from this particular story is it's a dog eat dog out there, dog eat dog type of world out there. We have to keep our heads, like Cherie from Black Women Making Money says, got to keep our heads on a swivel. We got to operate. Got to operate like we got some sense, because we can't have people keep swindling us. No, ma'am, no, sir. And anybody that is a client of mine, a career coaching client of mine, I would always encourage you to keep your head on the swivel. You know, David underestimated his playing hand, in this case, that CEO, and he did exactly this. He found out. So, do you guys have any questions, concerns? Do y'all want to, do you have any additions, that you want to add to this particular situation? I would definitely want to let you guys know that if you are going through anything like this and you want one-on-one, sit down with me so I can give you a specific strategy for your situation, you can definitely go ahead and go to mentorshelley.com/consultation to go ahead and book a direct consultation with me. I'm out here looking out for the best interest of all of my career professionals. Yes, Victoria knows what time it is. Yeah, that CEO certainly did. Absolutely, positively. However, guys, if you know anybody that's gone through this, forward this live to them. And remember, if you don't remember anything else I said tonight, make sure, if you are in the situation or you know somebody that is in that situation, make sure you do what, Jay Antoinette? Document it. You set boundaries with your time, number one, and get everything in writing. All right, because if they want to give you additional responsibilities, they're gonna have to fork up some more Benjamins. Okay, and we went through exactly how to say that. You're typing it, so of course there are some nuances on how to say it and what to say, but general synopsis. This is how this is gonna happen. All right, folks. And of course, if you are looking for, if you know anybody that is in the ex-trad wives or is just getting out of a serious situation, becoming unpartnered, and they are in a very economically vulnerable situation, and they're looking for help to at least get them started, getting out of those situations. You can refer them to my ex-trad wife economic guide at mentorshelley.com/ETW. I am looking out for the women that are in very precarious positions right now. A lot of that is going on. I hope and pray, if you believe in that, that these women get out of those situations alive, number one, and in one piece, so they can put their lives back economically together. And this is a guide to help to do just that. And of course, if you're also looking for help with resumes, I do have that service available. You can go to mentorshelley.com/resumes. I do have the templates available in a free guide, but you want my one-on-one help, you're going to have to book that consultation. Also, if you're getting ready to go on a next interview and you are looking for additional help, I do have the consultations available for that as well. You can go to mentorshelley.com/consultations. I do have interview coaching and salary negotiation coaching put together. Just like how you negotiate when you're getting the job, this is this type of negotiation that I want you to implement when you are faced with situations like this where they're having you take on a whole nother person's job. Well, you're gonna have to add some more Benjamins to my check. Okay, because nobody works for free. All right, guys. And of course, if you find this information helpful, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you guys have additional questions in regards to this or anything else that we had tonight on the live stream, go ahead. You can either leave the comments below in the comments section on the video, or you can go to mentorshelley.com/contact, where you can leave me a voicemail or an email message, and I'm more than happy to return your voicemail or email within 24 hours, guys. Don't let an employer punk you. Get it in writing and set your boundaries. All right, guys, this is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, because we have to stand on business, just like the employer is. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Thank you guys so much. Jay Antoinette, Victoria, Mocha Mommy, Still Rocks, and everybody that came through to join me on the live tonight. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good one. Good night.